Let's continue on. It's always God's will to heal. Okay. Don't make any excuses. Oh, it's not God. God is always wants to heal. There are blockages. And my witnessing technique is, can I pray for you? Okay. It takes all the religious things. Everybody either wants prayer or wants things. And once you pray for them, then the door opens. Now, part of this supernatural, everything you could ever need for life and godliness has already been deposited in us. And so all we've got to do is open it up. God's provided it. And part of what we do here is showing people what is already available. Now, how do I pray? Well, first, ask what the issue is. Okay. Don't just presume, particularly if someone comes to the front of a church service. Be like a doctor. I always say we should be doing 90% talking, 10% praying. Ask the patient history, how long they've had it, ask questions. And then we use the term praying, I always think praying means talking to God. We should speak to the issue. We should command and take authority and not request God, please heal, command heal. We should speak to the issue. And, if necessary, pray again. Don't give up, but do the checkup. Okay. Now, if no improvement, look for a blockage to the healing. Now, Henry Wright did the study that he found even that churches believed in healing, only 5% on average got supernaturally healed. And, he started investigating this aspect. What are the blockages? And so stop asking God to heal indicates a lack of faith, but we need to explore, am I the blockage? Okay, for example, do I have enough faith? And then God can use me to command healing when I believe God has given me. He says, I will give you authority. He says that you will lay hands on the sick and they will recover. And so stop asking God, start commanding healing. Well, we learned about legal rights, and legal rights can supersede our authority. That Satan's a lawyer and he knows how to have legal rights to do blockages. And we've looked at how to unblock those things in the past. Well, the main emotional root spirits, we've been concentrating on fear, but we're going to see tonight, fear also then opens the door for heaviness and jealousy. Now, there's a lot of other root spirits there, but particularly for diseases, we're looking at fear, heaviness, and jealousy. Well, don't pray for the fruit. People look at the disease, but diseases speak to me. Okay. And, for asthma, I'm particularly seeing some really good things happen with people who've been praying for them, but I don't pray for asthma. I pray for the spirit of abandonment. And, as we're looking at one video, casting that demon of asthma out, casting the fear of abandonment out. And I'm seeing great progress as we're looking at the blockages or the legal rights. Well, as I said, fear can grow. We looked at fight or flight. It grows to anger or escape. But then we're going to continue down and looking spirit of jealousy next week. But we're going to start with the spirit of heaviness this week. Fear can be the root cause of disease. As he thinks in his heart, so it is. Our thoughts control our biochemistry, and we've looked at the cortisol drip. Now, that thing for as he thinks in his heart, okay, we're going to look at. Well, we looked at flight is destructive, but God has put in helpful disengagement, awe and wonder, being loved, gratitude. And we've looked at fight, and last week we looked at helpful engagement, making a contribution, loving others, and purpose. Well, let's go back to that fear issue. Fear is a heart issue. Well, let's go back and look at that verse. As he thinks in his heart, so is he. Okay, so fear starts, but it's a heart issue. My peace I give you, not as the world gives you. Let not your heart be troubled. neither let it be afraid. Don't let your heart be worried. Don't let it have fear. Now, fear can affect a natural heart, and we're going to look at that next week. Now, if I look at a natural heart fear, hypertension, angina, valve problems, aneurysms, coronary artery disease, cardiomyopathy, atrial septum defects, okay, and probably more. But when we talk about a heart, we can also refer to an emotional thing. And I want to look at that tonight before we move on. Anxiety in the heart of man causes depression, but a good word makes him glad. Fear can affect our emotional heart. And we're going to look at that tonight and see what God is doing. But we look in Matthew, and what we see is offenses must come. And John Bevere, in his book Bait of Satan, brings it out. It's not the offense must come. Satan's job is to offend us. Okay, it's how we react to the offenses is the issue. Well, what I mean by offenses, and particularly for depression, some of the offenses that could cause depression: death of a loved one, loss of employment, marriage or relationship ending, financial obligation, traumatic events, natural disaster, car accident, theft, violence. Now, in the video we're going to see tonight, the woman, and quite often it's not just one, the woman had her daughter died in a car accident. Her husband lost his job, and her son was bashed up and had violence to him. And so all this being unsafe and the fear of the future came upon her. And that's where I heard, and you'll hear it on this, is that she realized that if she could control every aspect of her life, that she did it in the natural says, if I control everything, I'll be safe. But we've got to learn to trust God and break down those natural barriers where we're doing all the work. So the pathway, offense, it opens a spirit of fear and a spirit of heaviness. And if we look in those, rejection, you know, everyone wants to be loved. And when these offenses come, we feel this rejection, self-rejection, perceived rejection, and fear of rejection. Well, we're going to look at depression. And when I look at depression, I've decided that there are 5 types of depression. There's just simple depression. But then there can be depression with chronic fatigue, where you just go into your room and you don't want to come out. You don't, it's really a spirit of stupor. Then depression with an addictive behavior, because you feel so depressed, drinking alcohol cheers you up, except you get drunk and you do bad things. Gambling addiction, you feel you win and then you lose lots of money. And I had that case, just recently where someone had come to me and they just lost thousands and thousands of dollars, and they realized how stupid they'd been. And there is another one, depression with self-harm and kind of punishing yourself. Now, bipolar, when I grew up, it was called manic depression. And it's when you're depressed and then you flip the other way and you're manic, you just 100% into everything, and then you crash again. And it's a cycle. Well, I've got to look at the issues. Depression is a spirit of heaviness and a spirit of fear. With chronic fatigue, I have stupor. With addiction, I had bondages. With depression of self-harm, I had death and spirit of lying. A suicidal spirit, for example, will tell you nobody loves you, nobody wants you, and that's the spirit of lying. And bipolar, I'd be looking at generational influence. And so we've got to ask the person and go back of all the rejections and not just do the depression, do the heaviness, the spirit of fear, and what other spirits there might be. Well, 2 Timothy 3:16 says, 2 Timothy 1:7. Oh, yeah, 2 Timothy 1:7. Is God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and love and a sound mind. Okay, so we got to pray with power and authority. We have authority over depression. Use that authority. But depression hates love. You know, that spirit of heaviness, and you've got to love casts out fear, perfect love casts out. And so you might be attacking a spirit of heaviness, but you got to love the person. You got to make sure, because it started with rejection. And so we've got to replace that rejection with love. And we've got to bring a sound mind. Okay. Many times they're overthinking things. And we've got to let them learn to trust God in the process. So it's not only authority. We've got to cast out that spirit of fear, and we've got to put back in, a sound mind. Well, first thing I tell people, always pray with your eyes open. Things are happening. You can see things in the spirit. We're talking and we deal with issues just as rejection. We command all fear to go. We command all heaviness to go. Now, the Bible is powerful. Quote your authority in the Bible and then check up. Ask how did they feel? What did they see? What did they think? Okay, and then particularly we've got to leave them with the sound mind. This is the result I want. When people, the spirit of heaviness lifts, quite often they feel light, and you want to make them understand that. They can often say I'm at peace. Okay, but they also need to go and practice. It's not just with you then. They need to practice peace at home. And the Bible says, God will keep you in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on you because he trusts in you. And the secret is keeping our mind on God. But we tend to get distracted with entertainment or other things. And it's when we allow the world back in, the chaos and the other things. So keeping our mind on God is how we can keep that sound mind. Because particularly for depression, it's a battle for the mind. And what you think will affect your body. And we're going to continue with that next week. And we're going to continue by looking at diseases and start looking at diseases that involve anger.